US Kids and the Ad Council. Visit adoptuskids.org.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. All those places you can find us doing the whole broadcast, everything, see my mug and all of that, but also chime in, and that's one of the better reasons to go over there and do that if you can. If you're in your car, please just stick with the radio. If you're streaming it hands-free, please let it be hands-free. You're more than welcome to continue to joining us that way. And we'll, of course, open up those phone lines a little bit later in the program for those who, again, can do so safely, because as much as I love talking about the things that affect us here in the borderland, I mean, stay safe while doing it. That's we'll get to the point, and we'll get to your calls later on. Don't endanger yourself to get off of it there. But, I mean, we got a lot to talk about here today. We've got some new features on the show that we'll be getting to here, including more focus on local investigative reporting happening with our news partners over at KFOX 14. Guest today will be Estefania Seifert, talking about her efforts and her bi-weekly reports that you'll now be able to get over on KFOX 14, and that she'll be recurring coming on this program to talk about. So that's one of the things we got going on for you today, but a lot of very serious stuff happening around and in the borderland here today. Of course, border security and the updates happening with it, both in terms of Title 42 and the everything that's going to be impacted by that, but also the state level efforts on border security, some of the things being talked about by, among other things, the governor, and new deals that are supposed to be being dealt with when it comes to, well, the holdup we're now seeing in border trade and transit when it comes to, well, the 18-wheelers that are causing a lot of impacts across the border, not even just here in the borderland, but we're definitely feeling it here among other things. So more discussion about that and what some of those new deals are, but even how there is more pressure and response going on, even as, well, there are some of the other of the governor's border security and border, I guess, awareness efforts might be the better way to put it, that are getting some response here, among other things. The first of the much talked about buses with migrants arriving in D.C. here today, and response going on to that as well. So a lot to get into here. So again, throughout the program, you can tune in, chime in over on the social media pages. A few people tuning in, chiming in over there as well right now. And well, let's just dive right into it. If you haven't been looking over with our news partners at KFOX 14, McBride fire, as it's now being called, that was actually sparked yesterday and has already gone to destroy more than 100 buildings and houses specifically. I mean, they've got some pretty intense video of it going in there. So evacuation still taking place there for, again, Lincoln County and the village of Ruidoso in those areas. So those high winds we've been experiencing definitely affecting that, and a fire that we haven't seen in better part of a decade or so, I want to say here. I do remember as a kid growing up seeing that there were those occasional different wildfires growing in certain areas, and we had one a couple of years ago, but not exactly in this area, more on the Sierra Blanca side of things. So I mean, devastating impacts happening to some there, people returning to some of their houses today and finding them, gone, essentially. The pictures coming out specifically, again, from our news partners doing some reports from the convention center and golf course area over there, showing just the burning hillsides beyond them. So thoughts and prayers go for them. And I know that, some other guests we've had previously on the show, including Southern New Mexico representatives and, elected officials responding to that and looking at some of the resources that are available here. So, I mean, that's just, it's hard to ignore that and the pictures and everything coming out of this. And so, I mean, there's even some aerial attacks, water dropping and firefighters and brush fire persons getting involved in that. So still keeping an eye on that. But again, back on the Texas side of things, quite a lot of focus on everything going on with the border security efforts and issues, among other things. Okay, when it comes specifically to that, not essentially causing the blockade, but the blockade is as in a response to what is happening with Texas Governor Greg Abbott's increased screenings that he is requiring inspections for all commercial traffic crossing the border here, leading to delays of 45 minutes to an hour per vehicle, per 18-wheeler. And then we're seeing the pictures come through from different sources, but even some here from in our area of just trucks snaking back for miles as they are trying to reach the ports of entry to enter the United States here. So one aspect of it that the governor has, I guess, softening or making a deal on, more specifically would be the better way to put it, that he and Nuevo León Governor Samuel Alejandro Garcia Sepulveda announcing that they will have an agreement between Texas and, again, Nuevo León specifically. So this will affect the traffic primarily at the Laredo-Columbia Bridge. So because that's basically just the combination of where Nuevo León meets Texas, which is a 9-mile stretch of the border. So some work being done there, but for the majority, I mean the vast majority of the rest of the length of the border, seemingly like this is going to continue for a while. Again, the part that seems a little bit unclear is exactly what the end game of this is going to be for the governor. If this is going to be along the same kind of efforts that we're seeing, again, with the buses, the first one there having arrived now in Washington, D.C., about 30 people being noted from Colombia, Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, ending up in D.C., being dropped off, I believe, between the Union Station up there and the Capitol building itself. So not quite exactly Capitol steps, this was being talked about, but then again, no one really gets to go on the Capitol steps anymore unless you're, well, let me not get into that. Usually, when going through security procedures, anyway, usually just the invited guests, shall we say. But so, I mean, some stories coming about that, both reporting here locally and from statewide, including the Texas Tribune and others, noting some of the impacts on this. Another bus apparently on the way there as well. So that effort continuing, though nowhere near, I guess, the implied scale that was being talked about when it first came out, but of course got pretty quickly walked back by the governor and saying that this will be a voluntary program only. But apparently people taking it up on that already, those that are, again, being caught here in Texas specifically, and well, whatever their situations are. Some of the specific stories being looked at, taking up the offer to be taken way the heck away from the border for free by the state of Texas here. So guess I'm not too surprised about that. At least one person noted by the Texas Tribune saying, very thankful for all the help that was given to us. Frankly, we did not have the money to get here otherwise, so we're very thankful for the help, as noted by the Texas Tribune. One person there, 26-year-old Ordalis Eras. So interesting situations as we're dealing with all these border issues. But of course, there has been a little bit more ramping up of pressure on to deal specifically with that trade backlog, amongst others that we noted yesterday. Texas Agricultural Commissioner Sid Miller saying that there needs to be more done. And we had some calls on that yesterday, of course, and that's being one of the major noted ones. But of course, the impacts on the election and how long this can really go on, because more than a little bit of accusations happening towards Governor Greg Abbott from primarily the other side of the aisle, but even from his own, that this is amounting to things like, political theater and attention-grabbing efforts, to some of which I say, particularly with the busing efforts, so what? We need more attention on some of these issues. But when we start talking about the real impacts that we're seeing in maybe shelves going increasingly bare, we already are dealing with that enough in this region, our own, as it is. But if we're seeing that essentially particularly perishables, food, vegetables going bad while sitting waiting to be delivered, that's not exactly going to be helpful to our local area, even if a larger political statement is intending to be made out of that as we go forward here. So those are just some of the impacts we're looking at here today, already coming up on the need for that first break of the hour. But as I also mentioned, going to be talking further about some local investigative efforts into, well, the issues that affect us here in the borderlands. So very much in line with our mission there. We're going to be talking with KFOX 14 investigative reporter Estefania Seyfert about her efforts and the bi-weekly reports she's going to be putting out now, and how we'll be talking about them further on this program going forward here. So stay tuned. We'll get into that and a whole lot more coming out after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. As always, I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Appreciate the comments and feedback coming in over on social media. Flaco Jimenez, among others, dropping that like on the page. But as I said, back after this break with more discussion about, well, investigative efforts and how even y'all can get involved. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 westbound at Lee Trevino, stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. I-10 eastbound is heavy stop-and-go traffic with delays. Paisano to Hawkins. Bumper-to-bumper traffic, South Desert Boulevard at Artcraft. On North Desert Boulevard, northbound at Artcraft, a disabled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. And the border highway eastbound at Fonseca has a stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Our American Stories podcast.
Emmerich Juttner, for most of his life, was an upstanding citizen. Until the age of 62, he started counterfeiting $1 bills and evaded the Secret Service for a decade. Be sure to listen to this week's edition of Our American Stories on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Ivan Ochoa, General Manager from Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. Thank you, El Paso and surrounding areas, for helping us be El Paso's #1 dealer in new Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram sales in March. As a gesture of our gratitude, we've extended all our Ram Truck Month deals, like 0 down, 0% interest for 72 months and no payments for 90 days.
Buy now and save thousands on a huge inventory of new and certified pre-owned vehicles. 2022 Ram trucks with 0 APR for 72 months. All new 2022 Jeep Wagoneer, full-size SUV with third-row seating, 0 APR for 72 months, 0 payments for 90 days. We've partnered with even more aggressive lenders with great rates and terms, even if your credit is less than perfect. And we want your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. All military personnel and all first responders receive an additional discount. Thank you for your service. Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Where buying a car is fun. At I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina, El Paso. El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebated dealer discount plus TTNL. 0 APRs, $13.89 per thousand finance. All select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Hey, Mario Courtney Lopez here. We know life's moments are definitely better together.
And Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to always be ready to make the most of these moments.
Whether in studio, on the red carpet, or around the house, having the confidence to get close is amazing.
Our lives are better together with Smart Mouth. Just 2 rinses a day means fresh breath for 24 hours.
Find it at your favorite drug, grocery, or supercenter store, or save 20% at smartmouth.com/radio.
So the dream was to build your very own law practice, be your own boss, call all the shots. But have things like billing, HR, timekeeping, and all the other management stuff turned your dream into a nightmare? Take charge of your practice with Lexicon. We're the intersection of practice management software and legal support services for your firm. You'll get more billable and livable hours back. Lexicon marks the spot for all your practice management needs. Visit lexiconservices.com/intersection to get the whole story or schedule a demo.
Weather and traffic info. You need it? We have it. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed. News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Welcome back here to Talk El Paso, airing on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, that we are up on these days. A lot of conversations we're having today, but something that has often come up, even requests from you all in the audience, has been about wanting more investigative reporting, more in-depth stuff about all the things going on here in the borderlands. So to talk here a little bit more about that, we are joined now by Estefania Seifert, investigative reporter with KFOX 14 and our news partners there. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Here, just make sure to get right up on that mic there. So we are talking about some of the things that are going on, just the way things are being reported in town has often been a question, and we have gotten a lot of questions and comments, concerns from our audience about what is being talked about, how are things even being looked at, and so that is something that you are, as your title suggests, very specifically focused on. So for people who may not be familiar with your reporting or your work, what is the focus and how do you go about it with what the reports that you're doing now bi-weekly?
So a lot of the reporting that's done every day that you see on your television screen, it's thought of in the morning, what's the story of the day, and we go from there. And so sometimes there are still questions, right? I see it in the comments on Facebook when we post the stories. They're like, but what about this? Or what happens if that? And so my job is to kind of go through those comments, try and answer those questions. And I get a little more time than your typical general reporter to try and answer those questions and like the title says, investigate a little more into the stories that we cover every day. So it's a little more focused. I do get a little more time to work on these, and so these tend to be longer pieces. And that's what I focus on.
And people may see them being promoted with the kind of like a tune in tonight for this kind of a story thing. So they may have seen this going by, but if they didn't truly understand kind of how the conception of it is being done, again, the demand for this has been in place for a long time now, and something that we have, just from my personal perspective, sorely missing in town. So talk a little bit about some of the reports that you have been doing or that you have been working on recently.
So a lot of interest is always anything happening in the city with the county. Budgets are always really big. People want to know where their money is going, how it's being used. So a lot of my reports have focused on that. Sometimes there are consumer issues, if you will, right? That's what we call them, where maybe someone feels like a business may have done them wrong, or, you know, vice versa with a client. And so a lot of those times I try and be the bridge between a business and a client and see if we can get them to resolve whatever issue they had. And so those are always, there seem to be a lot of those. Those are always of interest to people. But particularly, like I mentioned, I do focus more on what's happening in El Paso as far as city and county, when it comes to money and things that really it's geared by what people tell us they want to see more of. So when people have questions about things is when we take a dive into that.
And so, yeah, the focus on budgets, I mean, the taxing rates that come out of that, all these combinations of things end up being incredibly important, but kind of intractable and difficult to deal with kind of on that day turn kind of style you were talking about here. So in dealing with these kind of stories, you mentioned a little bit about how you kind of generate them. And so then in digging into them, how do you go about that, or what can people then see coming out of it?
So a lot of it is reaching out to our local officials, right? Our lawmakers, whether it's at a local level, at a regional level. That's mainly why I'm given so much time, is because I'm kind of on their time as well. You know, these people sometimes aren't as available as if I needed them on one day, right? As a day turn, as we say. So that's why I'm given a little bit more time. And so it's trying to figure out the problem, and from there trying to figure out, well, who could respond to this? Who would be the person to give me an answer for this? And I start there. And a lot of the times my investigations require open records through the Freedom of Information Act. Those take time, definitely sometimes weeks. Sometimes they get sent to the Attorney General's office, which takes even longer. So that's typically the process. And that's why these stories take a little longer than your typical day in stories.
And so the way that these are coming out now, again, this has been something you've been doing for a while now, but as of this month, actually, these are going to be coming out twice a week, right?
Yes, it used to be on Wednesdays on KFOX 14 News at 9, and now it's Mondays and Wednesdays.
So Mondays and Wednesdays, people can find you putting out these reports here. Again, if you're just joining us, guest right now is Estefania Seifert, investigative reporter with KFOX 14. Again, if you want to find out more information about those reports, find some of under the investigative reports tab over on kfoxtv.com. They can find some of your recent ones. So the most recent one you have here, title of it, Some Sun Metro Employees Express Frustrations with Wages here. So talk a little bit about what led to the start of this story and then how you started digging into it.
So this is actually a follow-up story to another Sun Metro story that I had done last week. And that story was also a follow-up to a story one of my coworkers had done last month when Sun Metro had announced that it would be cutting routes. And so when he was speaking with Ellen Smythe, who's the managing director of Sun Metro, she mentioned that they were seeing more crashes because bus drivers were burnt out. And this was in correlation to staff shortages. And so that particular issue is what I wanted to focus on in my first investigation, which was last week. And so I spoke with her about that. I actually filed open records requests to see the incident reports for 2021 of all the incidents that were reported by Sun Metro employees while they were driving the buses. And I was trying to see, what type of incidents were being reported, and if there was, let's say, a cause, which that one sometimes is hard to determine, right? But what I came across was that a lot of the incidents that were reported were a branch. I was driving, a branch hit the mirror. Maybe driving too close to a curb or a wall, it hit the mirror. And so a lot of it was damage done to the buses. Other incident reports said that the bus was parked and people rear-ended them. There were several of those as well.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I went back to Ellen Smythe to try and get a little more perspective on the shortage of employees. They have 46 vacancies. And what they're trying to do now is they're basically asking anyone, walk through our doors. We will train you. We will try and get you your CDL license, your CDL, basically your commercial driver's license. And so that story aired. And the story that ran on Monday was a follow-up to that one, because I started getting messages on my Facebook, my email, my work email, our newsroom email from Sun Metro employees telling us, we want to be heard about another issue. Yes, staff shortages are a thing. That's definitely a thing in the department, but we want to be heard about wages. So a lot of these employees that I spoke with, they spoke anonymously. And their biggest concern was that they hadn't seen a raise in a very long time. And if they had seen a raise, which was, it seems like pre-pandemic, it was a 1% raise, which they felt right now they're really feeling the pinch with the inflation. And so they were just concerned that they weren't going to continue to be able to provide for their families. So that was the focus of Monday's story.
So again, some follow-ups and the digging into this kind of thing here. So people, again, can expect these coming out now Mondays and Wednesdays, primarily going to be airing during KFOX News at 9, right?
Yes.
Okay, so people can find it there and then post it online after that. And yeah, you can see the full story here. So you mentioned a little bit more time to do this. I mean, I feel like most stories on air end up getting a minute or two out of it on that kind of day turn stuff you were talking about. How long can people, if they are not familiar with these, expect your stories generally to run?
I think it depends on the story itself. Sometimes I have a lot of information to share, which is pretty cool because typically, like you mentioned, a typical story runs a minute 30. And if you want more information, you have to go to the web story for it. With my stories, they typically run between 4 to 5 minutes. So, of course, there's always more information than that. And that's also provided in the web story. But I do get more time for my stories. And so they're a little lengthy, but thorough.
Okay, so I mean, again, more information is generally a good thing, and the also ability to dig into them is something that is very much needed here. And of course, you're doing these regularly. Any kind of sneak peeks into what might be coming up next or soon, or stuff that you're working on?
Yeah, so tomorrow, actually Wednesday, I will be, or tonight.
Yeah, tonight.
I'm so behind on I'm all over the place. Tonight on KFOX 14 News at 9, I have another follow-up to a different story. I had done a story last week on UMC's budget, and I touched several topics in that story, but one that there were still questions on was UMC's, how much they're spending on uncompensated charity care. And what that basically is that hospital is committed to offering their services regardless of someone's able to pay for it or not. So if someone doesn't have insurance, they still provide a service, they still provide care, but someone needs to get charged. And so the bill for 2021 is at $556 million of uncompensated care. Wow. And the questions that remained when I briefly touched on that in my last story was, well, who's paying for that, right? And so property taxes, part of our property taxes do go towards UMC, and that is still not enough to cover that amount. And so my story tonight is going to focus on, well, then how is that extra chunk paid for?
So again, that'll be airing this evening here during the 9 o'clock broadcast on KFOX 14. So people can check that out. And then again, also online here in the following day as well to find that information here. So if people have stuff, I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people wanting to say, like, you should look into this, that kind of a thing. If they want to get in touch with you or suggest that kind of thing, I'm sure we'll have some comments going on here. But to get in touch with you directly, what's going to be the best way for people if they have suggestions or things that they might be able to speak about themselves? What's the best way to go about that?
No, yeah, and I definitely encourage that because that's how I do my stories. I do it based off of what people want to see more of. So any story ideas can be sent to my email, which is EYSEYFFERT@kfoxtv.com. My Facebook pages, you can inbox me. I'm on Twitter. So anywhere you can contact me on social media, if you find my name, you can go ahead and reach out, or even just directly emailing KFOX is fine as well.
And we'll probably post up some of those links here over on our social media here. So again, you get a lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts, a long timeline that some of these things take here. But I guess just in terms of doing this work, do you enjoy it? What do you find fulfilling about it?
I love research. I think that's one thing I enjoyed a lot in school. I loved essays. I knew growing up, I wanted to do something that required reading and writing. That's what I was best at, not math or science. Joke's on me though, because I deal with budgets. So,
right.
But I wanted to do something that required lots of reading, lots of writing. I loved research, and this job is all research. It's 100% research. So that's what I'm passionate about, is that it's very factual, and I go looking for the people who will provide me the answers wherever it may be. But I like a complete story, and I hope our viewers enjoy that.
Again, guest right now is Stephania Seyfert, an investigative reporter with KFOX 14. You want to find her reports again coming up tonight, that next one on UMC budget, among other things. Going to be getting into that and the whole thing she does every Monday and Wednesday. So you can find that at kfoxtv.com, and of course on air at KFOX 14 News at 9. So Stephania, thank you very much for talking with us here, and excited to continue talking about these here most coming weeks here as we focus more on your reporting and what needs to be talked about here in El Paso.
Yes, I look forward to it. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Absolutely here. All right, that's going to take us through our next break right now. So coming out of this next break, we'll get to more of our topics of the day and more discussion about the things affecting us here in the borderland. So stay tuned. Back after this break. Don't go anywhere.
Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 News Update. A state of emergency remains in effect for the village of Ruidoso, New Mexico, as the McBride fire continues to burn. More than 4,000 acres have burned. Authorities say 150 buildings and homes have been destroyed. The fire started yesterday and grew quickly thanks to intense wind. Today, fire crews were battling the fire from both the air and the ground. Texas Governor Greg Abbott today announced the arrival of the first group of migrants who were bused to Washington, D.C. from Texas. The migrants who volunteered for the trip were dropped off between Union Station and the United States Capitol, and a second bus is currently en route to Washington. The bus was filled with migrants from Colombia, Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. Abbott said he would start busing migrants to Washington in protest of the Biden administration's border policies, but the governor's critics say he's engaging in political theater ahead of the November election. This has been your KFOX 14 News Update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. Our Tuesday turned out to be very active with a lot of wind and a lot of blowing dust, but I'm happy to say those winds are lighter for our Wednesday and will continue to become even lighter as we get into the overnight hours. Now, as for the winds the rest of this week, they do look to cooperate nicely. Now, they'll still be a little breezy, maybe at about 15 to 25 miles an hour, but you'll also notice temperatures quickly warming up this week.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If April is showering your company with open job positions, check out Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Sponsor your first job today and get hiring by visiting Indeed.com/credit.
The new true crime podcast, White Eagle, investigates one of the largest cash heists in U.S. history. The robbery of over $7 million from an armored car warehouse. Was the ringleader a criminal mastermind, or was he a political pawn in a Cold War operation?
For some folks, they were boogeymen. They were, bandits hidden in the mountains and shadowy figures. For others, they were heroes.
Listen to White Eagle on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Anyone can get long COVID, even Rob, age 22.
I got COVID in September of 2020, and a few weeks later, I started to have long-term problems. I used to run 5 to 6 miles a day. Now, when I walk up a flight of stairs, I'm gasping for air. It feels like my brain is clouded and I can't think straight.
Getting vaccinated against COVID-19 is the best way to prevent long COVID. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
Emmerich Drittner, for most of his life, was an upstanding citizen. Until the age of 62, he started counterfeiting $1 bills and evaded the Secret Service for a decade. Be sure to listen to this week's edition of Our American Stories on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This report is sponsored by the Our American Stories podcast.
The most current and comprehensive. Just minutes away at the top and bottom of the hour, and always online at KTSMradio.com.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Who, me? Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. All those places are to say that there's a lot of ways that you can see the show if you want to. We do have some multimedia features that we bring up here. Also, you can just see my mean mug if you really want to. But also, you can leave your comments on most of those platforms. And that interaction, I mean, we go up, the phone lines open. And in fact, we'll go ahead and open them now since we were talking about feedback from the community here. So the number to call there is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. So if you're you're listening to us, if you want to get at us, you certainly can. One additional feature I want to mention that has now come through. We have had for a while now that pound 250 system in which you dial pound 250 on your cell phone. You call that number, and then you'll say the keyword Talk El Paso when prompted, and you can leave us a message. There's now an even easier way that has now been debuted through the iHeartRadio app. So if you get your cell phone and you haven't downloaded it already, you go to the iHeartRadio app, you pull up our station here. There's going to be a little red button at the bottom that looks like a microphone. That's the talkback feature, meaning that during our show, you can send us a message and we'll play it in future shows here. So making it even easier. Again, just get to the iHeartRadio app, go to 690, listen to our show through it, and you can leave your own message for us directly through that. So no other numbers to remember. Just remember, listen to us, the iHeartRadio app, hit that microphone button, and you can leave us your own message. Again, day or night, they'll end up with me. So even if it's not during our show, you can still get at us with the message there. So excited to see who the first one to try that out is. Among other things, we might be doing some prizes in the future. Stay tuned. Nothing concrete yet, but we got some, let's just say, incentives, personal stimulus, though not quite at that level, or hopefully with the inflationary aspects of it here. But so just a lot of ways to interact and get at with us. A lot of comments coming in, as I fully expected there, given our guest. Again, thank you very much to Estefania Seifert and the investigative reporting she is doing over there with our news partners at KFOX 14. One comment coming in here I got to address here. John Brazelton accusing me of being disloyal to my former employer. I mean, sure, I appreciate the time I had over there, but KFOX 14 and CBS 4 Local are our news partners here on this station. So if anything, I'd be being disloyal to my current employers if I wasn't, dealing with our news partners over there. So yes, it's a difference there. And I mean, I still occasionally show up. Apparently I was involved. I mean, I know I did the interview, but they finally aired this past weekend about the goodbye to the sergeants, Bernie sergeant specifically this weekend that apparently I was in. I didn't know exactly when that was aired. So, I mean, I'm still on friendly terms with them, but I mean, we got the deals we have in place now here. Just got to say that here. But again, we've also posted up over on the social media link to Estefania's social if you want to send her messages about things. Some comments coming in on that. Maria Kallman saying that Among other things, the major story here is the reassessment and increase in taxes. This has been virtually ignored by the press. I would like to see a detailed breakdown of government expenditure, including salaries and raises allocated to officials. That latter part's, probably coming here, but there has been some work being done initially on that. It's been a lot of piecemeal, and I want to say that El Paso Matters has actually been doing some interesting work on breaking down what the increases are looking at, because double-digit percentages seem to be pretty well along the board. Yeah, their recent story out here, property tax valuations skyrocket in El Paso for a second straight year. And the anecdotal evidence, things I'm hearing from people I know, that, going up quite a lot. And what they've broken it down to is between 18% between 2021 and 2022 increase in property taxes, and after a 12% increase last year. So some focus on that, but I would agree with you. It's certainly due for some more investigative look and, focus on that here. And a lot of more comments coming in on that here. But let's get to those phone lines here. As I did mention, we have them open. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544 KTSM. We do have Eric on the east side here with us right now. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Hello there. I just wanted to say that, Sun Metro, the employees are criminally underpaid. I think it's generally ran by people who are out of touch with the needs of El Pasoans. Because, if you don't have a vehicle, you're pretty much screwed. It'll be a 2-hour commute one way, then a 2-hour commute back, to get to and from work. And, I did, the last person you had said she's from KFOX.
Yep, it's Stephanie Seifert, who will be doing more of these investigative talks with. But her recent story about her further look into both the concerns on that and then hearing from other Sun Metro employees about what's going on the inside.
Yeah, it's like they were talking about raising prices, and that's really going to hurt the elderly and the poor the most. That's who that's a tax on. And, this needs to be addressed by the state. We need more money from them in the city. And I think that's just overlooked by many in the city.
It's a backbone in a lot of ways, and the lack of focus on it, you're right. I mean, we've talked about this previously in certain ways, more from the kind of disability, the lift, and those kind of services offered from different entities, but including the Sun Metro efforts, part of it here in that kind of way. But it would be, I think, remiss to ignore the impact it has on a wide swath of El Pasoans, and frankly, their ability to get around and do things like, get to work and do the things that help keep El Paso running. So it's not even just it sucks to be poor kind of thing. It is a serious issue. I fully agree with you on that.
Oh yeah. And one last thing I wanted to comment on, and I know this is going to be frowned upon, after what I just heard you say, that you're owned by CBS4 and KFOX, because they were both maybe bought 3 years ago by Sinclair Broadcasting Group, and they're just a blatant right-wing propaganda conglomerate. You follow their Facebook page, they have zero journalistic integrity. Everything's been in cherry-picked stories, to push right-wing disinformation and talking points. So I'm really disappointed by everyone who works for KFOX and CBS4, because they are ultimately, what they can say or not say is ultimately in the hands of Sinclair Broadcasting Group, the right-wing propaganda conglomerate that owns the second most local news stations in the country. So
I get what you're saying there, and I understand your perspective on it, but what I'll say is this is, we are not owned by that. They are our news partners, but this is an iHeart radio station, just as a technical note to get that straight out here. And I understand the concerns you're talking about with conglomerates. I mean, I've shared many of the similar concerns with media conglomerization in general here, which is why, among other things, we do this program in the way we do, and to order have open discussion, calls, among other things, to get different viewpoints out there. So again, I get what you're saying, but the way we're
on Facebook, it's very blatant. The stories that they choose, from the national news desk and anything, they try to, if you Google who they source their stories from, it's just another Sinclair-owned local news station that wrote that spin piece, and KFOX and CBS4 are sharing it on their social media pages as if it's objective, credible journalism. And I think it does a lot of harm to the actual local stories that, the actual journalists, like that lady claims she was, like who may be actually trying to solve problems in our community. Right? Like when KFOX shares those overt propaganda pieces written by Sinclair, like it just does a disservice to all the local journalists who work for those companies, and it's really sad.
Again, I get what you're saying. I've seen the supercuts as well of the many media outlets and local stations doing the same kind of things when there are those command pieces that come down, though I do have to say, having worked in that sphere previously, it is not a simply to any particular conglomerization effort here. I mean, I have a local focus in a lot of ways, and I'm not trying to get myself in trouble with any of the people who are over me, but we have a lot of freedom on this show, and I am very happy and grateful for the opportunity we've been given in order to be able to have these discussions. But that's one of the reasons that we are making this effort and working further with our local partners here, because we want to talk about the things that affect us here in El Paso. I've appreciated Estefania's work in the past, and I'm looking forward to talking with her further about those going forward. Again, we'll have these as recurring segments going on about the local investigations and reporting she is doing there. So again, fully understand your concerns and what you're bringing up there, but we have the focus that we do, and this plays right into it about talking about the things that affect us here in the borderland. I've often had requests for saying, hey, can you look further into this? Can you do that? And while we have the alliances we do with our news partners for those very reasons to get further into this. So if you have those local concerns, if you have those things going on that you want to be further looked into, I mean, this is going to be one of the best avenues in order to do it here. So again, understand your perspective, but otherwise, I mean, disagree with you on how we're going to go about it, because I'm still very fully much in control of this program and how we are going to talk about things. So, and that's how we'll do it also with our news partners in those ways. So appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there. All right. We got more comments coming in here, among other things, and a whole lot more that we'll get into here after the break here. Again, we do have that phone line open. So if you are wanting to call in, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Phone line's open now. So get your comments in that way or over on our social media as we have going on here. More comments on some of the investigations being requested here, among other things. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
In the north part of the valley, bumper-to-bumper traffic, South Desert Boulevard at Artcraft, North Desert Boulevard, northbound at Artcraft, the disabled vehicles blocking the right shoulder. I-10 eastbound is stop and go with delays from Paisano to Hawkins. Border Highway eastbound at Fonseca Drive, a stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. And an injury accident northbound just north of Alameda at San Jose Road. Kerry Edwards, El Paso Traffic.
This report is sponsored by General Dynamics Information Technology.
Are you ready for an unparalleled work experience where you see your impact every day? GDIT is hiring bilingual English-Spanish customer service representatives to deliver critical support to the government. $500 sign-on bonus available for select positions. Apply now at gdit.com/El Paso Jobs.
This is Ivan Ochoa, General Manager from Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. Thank you, El Paso and surrounding areas, for helping us be El Paso's #1 dealer in new Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram sales in March. As a gesture of our gratitude, we've extended all our Ram Truck Month deals, like 0 down, 0% interest for 72 months and no payments for 90 days.
Buy now and save thousands on a huge inventory of new and certified pre-owned vehicles. 2022 Ram trucks with 0 APR for 72 months. All new 2022 Jeep Wagoneer full-size SUV with third row seating. 0 APR for 72 months. 0 payments for 90 days. We've partnered with even more aggressive lenders with great rates and terms, even if your credit is less than perfect. And we want your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. All military personnel and all first responders receive an additional discount. Thank you for your service. Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Where buying a car is fun. At I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. 0 APRs, $13.89 per thousand finance. All select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Beautiful, top quality, long-lasting dental implants as low as $19.95 at 1995implants.com. The El Paso Dental Office, where implants are affordable. Other places charge $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, up to $6,000 per tooth. Please do not pay that much. Please do come to 1995implants.com, where our price is much lower. as low as $1,995 per tooth, including the implant, abutment, and crown, which many other places charge extra for. Plus, at 1995implants.com, we also offer a free consultation, free standard x-rays, and very convenient payment options. Now's the time to get rid of your cracked teeth, missing teeth, or loose, old, wobbly dentures and get the beautiful new smile that you want at a very affordable price. 1995implants.com. For more information, see our website, 1995implants.com. That's 1995implants.com. Se habla español.
Comfort Keepers of Las Cruces is now hiring in-home caregivers. If you're kind and compassionate, then Comfort Keepers of Las Cruces may have a fun and flexible new career for you. Call 575-521-4400 today. Comfort Keepers of Las Cruces, elevating the human spirit.
Emmerich Juttner, for most of his life, was an upstanding citizen. Until the age of 62, he started counterfeiting $1 bills and evaded the Secret Service for a decade. Be sure to listen to this week's edition of Our American Stories on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the many social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, kind of being the main one. That's where the Skeptic Squad forms every day, more or less. Here we've got RJ, John Brazelton, Louis Pinado, Maria Coleman a little bit earlier, and more tuning in and chiming in. So those are good places for you to do so along the way. Among other things, response to some of the stories we got going on today, including that first delivery of, migrants via bus done by, Governor Greg Abbott's order, and that new initiative he talked about, delivering them to D.C. Not quite capital steps, but within shouting distance. Certainly here, Maria Coleman saying in relation to that, Congress is not in session due to spring break. 27 individuals on the bus, an estimated amount, I think it was, we're right around 30, is not a true example of the crisis, whether they are dispersed by Texas or feds. The result is the same. Taxpayers are picking up the tab. Eventually, the funds will cease to be available. So seeming unimpressed with the effort so far. Again, not exactly the kind of, this is not the phrase he used, but it's the one that he kind of seemed to have in mind. That is Governor Greg Abbott, when he was describing this of taking everyone from the border to D.C. It was more of kind of a shock and awe kind of situation to get the scope of it. But I don't think that it is quite come out to that scale. Pretty obviously. RJ also saying to our guest here, sharp young woman, keep on reading. Certainly appreciate and agree with that sentiment here. But further comments about what's going on with the, investigative issues and some of the things that might need to be looked at, including those budgets and, of course, the tax rates that are increasingly coming out more detail on. John Brazelton saying the city council, county, judges court, city manager, and city attorney are doing fine. What's the problem? I think just mildly facetiously. And a lot more discussion about ending up a discussion about perceived biases of different media outlets. Again, the higher you get up to the top level, you start finding, particularly when there are major companies dealing with issues and putting out information and, to a certain extent, dictating what must be said by all levels below them, you end up with that kind of an issue, which is why, amongst other things, again, I appreciate the previous caller, and again, if you want to call on the number to do so, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. There's a lot of focus on, what is being said by other outlets, but the way we will keep doing it, because this is the only way I can think of to do it, is talking about our local issues. There's no one in my ear. These headphones are just to hear when you all call in, basically, because the selections that we make on this program, the topics we want to go to, are the ones that are definitely interest and discussable, but also the ones that impact us the most here in the borderland. And that's the way we will keep doing it here on this program for the foreseeable future. Yes, we have some sponsors. Yes, we have people that help support us on the show, and we appreciate each and every one of them. But that is our focus here, and why I created this and wanted and have pushed this through for the better part of the last 5 years. More than the last 5 years, actually, technically coming up on here. Some of the initial efforts for Talk El Paso were in about, that early election back in 2017. So kind of coming up on an anniversary, I guess, here. But specifically, we're going to talk about the things that affect us here in the borderland in the way that only the people who live here can do. And that's going to be our focus going forward here. And anything that serves that mission, we'll bring on board and bring with us. Anything that doesn't, well, we'll discard as soon as possible once that comes to light here. But again, calls on the line here right now, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We have another call on the line here right now. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
This is Tom.
Hey there, Tom. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to remark about the guy that called in about the bias in newscasting.
Mm-hmm.
Most news is kind of tailored to the environment they're in. If there's a group of people in one part of town or one town that are leaning one way, the news is probably going to reflect their views. And for someone to hear something different, it comes as a shock and a surprise to them. But I would welcome something like that.
Fair enough. That's an interesting point to make. Yeah.
I would want to hear a different perspective and then look into it. But I think to just blanket that a news agency is reporting what they, a lot of them do. I'm not saying all of them do or don't, but it's certainly in the news. And I think it's kind of naive to make a blanket statement that Fox is that biased or that CNN is biased. It just goes both ways, two-way street.
I mean, I think as much as it can be apparent as people, looking at those outlets, I mean, there are some that are more egregious than others that I will fully agree on. And I mean, it just, you watch it and it does not take a rocket scientist to understand that there is a very particular perspective on some of these outlets. But that's why, among other things, we do what we do here about the local focus and just trying to get to what does it actually mean here, regardless of what the partisan line about it may be, because I find it a lot of stuff that ends up getting lost in the conversation if you're focused so much on they think this way or they think that way. Okay, cool. They think those ways. What does that actually mean behind the rhetoric? That's the way I find it more useful too. So, I mean, kind of to your point there about the idea of having other perspectives, that's why we take on the calls and callers and issues that we do, because I don't think anything's going to be gained by these echo chambers, because, I mean, I don't blame any particular media outlet otherwise. The idea of they are trying to maximize their audience, and it tends to be if the audience is self-selecting to a particular viewpoint or not, that tends to make it work better for them. So I may be shooting myself in the foot in the long run with the way we do it here, but damn it, I'm going to do it as long as we can.
I think you've been pretty balanced, because I've corralled you from one side and then I see you on the other side, and I like that. I like that kind of balance, your open perspective. I appreciate that. Got to go, brother. Thank you so much, and good luck to you.
I appreciate the point there. I mean, that's what we attempt to do anyway. So if it's working anytime, even if it's not more often than not, well, I appreciate the perspective. So you have a good one. Thank you for the point and the call there. That is actually going to take us through our next break right now. So coming out of this break, we'll continue talking more about those calls and line, some of those pictures up from the Ruidoso fires that we're talking about as well. So a whole lot more and more discussion about the things affecting us here in the borderland. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876. Back after this break with more. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Gateway Boulevard westbound at Hawkins, a crash reported there. Eastbound on the Gateway from Paisano to Hawkins, 10-minute delays, stop-and-go traffic. Americas Avenue at Zaragoza, heavy congestion. Got a stalled vehicle blocking the right lane. Loop 375 northbound at Montana, and Border Highway eastbound at Fonseca's got a stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with a new way to enjoy our beautiful planet. Energy consumption is a primary contributor to a changing climate, producing around 27% of greenhouse gases in the United States. Save money and energy at home by turning off your computer completely before you go to bed. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Okay, forest animals, today is a new day. Kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow.
Yes?
Have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. Okay, River.
Dude.
How's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man. Perfect for a little riverside shoeless relaxation.
Ah, good. Owl, you here? Course. Who's asking? I am. Look, you know the drill. Sleep during the day, scare the kids at night. Perfect. I love my job. Oak Tree?
Sup?
Still in the same place I left you last year. That's what I like. Consistency.
Well, it's not like I'm going anywhere for the next couple hundred years.
I know. I love it. Turtle. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. You'd think he would have learned by now to leave the night before our meetings. Okay. Squirrel. Has anybody seen Mr. Squirrel?
The forest has been preparing just for you. Visit a forest near you today. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Stay informed at KTSMradio.com. News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The accused New York City subway attacker is in police custody after a man tipped off police of the suspect's whereabouts. The man said he spotted Frank James walking on a Manhattan street. The suspect is well known to the NYPD. More from Natalie Migliori.
Authorities say 62-year-old Frank James has 9 prior arrests in New York City dating back to 1992. Police Commissioner Keyshawn Sewell says investigators have evidence that directly links James to the attack.
We were able to shrink his world quickly. There was nowhere left for him to run.
It was a Crime Stoppers tip that led to his arrest in Manhattan's East Village, more than 24 hours after he boarded another train and fled after releasing gas canisters and shooting innocent riders.
Actor Cuba Gooding Jr. is pleading guilty to groping charges in Manhattan. The Oscar-winning 54-year-old Jerry Maguire star was facing 6 sexual misconduct counts involving 3 women. Gooding Jr. spoke in court apologizing to the women. The actor will have to continue rehab for the next 6 months and is due back in court October 13th. President Biden is authorizing another $800 million worth of security assistance for Ukraine. That includes helicopters, artillery systems, ammunition, and armored vehicles. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby said ongoing U.S. assistance is urgently needed to combat the Russian invasion. Texas is ending enhanced tractor-trailer inspections at one Mexican border station. Governor Greg Abbott announced an agreement with Nuevo León Governor Samuel Garcia.
Nuevo León has increased its security on its side of the border. The Texas Department of Public Safety can return to its previous practice of random searches of vehicles.
Long lines have been reported at ports of entry since Abbott announced the enhanced inspections last week. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. More than 40 people are facing charges as part of a year-long investigation of a criminal gang in Central Florida. Gordon Bird has the story.
State Attorney General Ashley Moody says members of the sex money murder gang tied to the Bloods committed unconscionable crime.
This gang is particularly dangerous and insensitive to human life.
Polk Sheriff Grady Judd told reporters in Winter Haven gang members pointed a gun at a baby and pistol whipped an 8-year-old during a home invasion. 41 people face more than 100 charges ranging from racketeering to attempted murder thanks to evidence gathered in a court-ordered wiretap. I'm Gordon Bird.
The so-called California supermom now admits she faked her own kidnapping and has accepted a plea deal with prosecutors. Sherry Papini was reported missing by her husband in November of 2016, prompting a massive FBI search that made international news. Papini was found in San Francisco with chains on her body and a brand on her shoulder. She told cops she was held against her will by 2 Mexican women, but investigators arrested her in March, saying she made it up. The Dream Wheel is now officially open at the American Dream Mall in North Jersey. Sarah Lee Kessler has more.
It's not for folks who are afraid of heights. The Dream Wheel is 300 feet tall, twice as high as the 150-foot Big Wheel at Six Flags Great Adventure. There are 27 temperature-controlled gondolas that each seat 16 people. An adult ticket costs $29, a children's $20.
A Florida deep-sea fishing company is sharing video of a rare sighting. A British tourist booked a shark excursion, but instead hooked a rare 13-foot sawfish. Fin and Fly Charters captain John Canglianella said the area they ventured to is usually where they fish for sharks in 35-foot deep water. Sawfish have been considered endangered since 2003. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
This report is sponsored by General Dynamics Information Technology.
Are you ready for an unparalleled work experience where you see your impact every day? GDIT is hiring bilingual English-Spanish customer service representatives to deliver critical support to the government. $500 sign-on bonus available for select positions. Apply now at gdit.com/El Paso Jobs.
Hey, spring is here, and the warmer weather means you've got a lot more going on. Don't let COVID get in the way of any of it. COVID vaccines offer the strongest possible protection now and from long-term effects in the future. Protect yourself and your plans. We can do this. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. That's vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human
The
Services.
Lavinia Spring Wine Festival is April 30th and May 1st. Info at laviniawinery.com.
All right, everybody in the car. Let's go.
What are we going to do first when we get there, Mom? Go for a hike?
Sure, if you want.
What about canoeing? Can we go canoeing too?
I don't see why.
What about a bike ride? No, I want to fish.
Oh,
I've never been fishing.
honey, we can do it all.
How long does it take to get to the forest?
It's not.
Is it going to be long?
No, sweetie.
I bet it takes forever.
It's not that far.
Are we there yet?
Yep, we're here.
Already? No way. Come on.
It's a short drive from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Also, find fun activities to do like boating and biking or camping and hiking, plus much more. It's all right in your naturehood. A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
Why should you volunteer with Meals on Wheels?
I never thought that 5 minutes could make so much difference in the lives of two people, but it has.
Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org. Brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch, Andrew J. Polk. So, we take a lot of comments over on those pages. A lot of people chiming in. RJ, John Brazelton, Maria Coleman, Louis Pinato, myself commenting there as well. Again, putting out the link to the Facebook page for our guest from previous hour, Estefania Seifert, investigative reporter with KFOX 14. Again, the focus we take on a lot of things is local impact. So local reporting and investigative reporting is something that, on the balance, we're going to support here on this program. So if you're wanted to talk about that, I got more suggestions for those kind of stories here, as we have some people chiming in with that, among other things, John Browson and among others. You're more than welcome to hear RJ with a kind of compliment here, saying that he appreciates what I do, but there are concerns about the way other things are being reported. And I understand the concern that happens sometimes with all of these issues, particularly when, again, some outlets are more obvious or egregious, depending on how you look at it, than others here. But that's why I think that doing something like the way we do is kind of not exactly an antidote, but necessary in this environment, is cutting through all of, well, the crap, really, and then getting down to what the issues really are for our area, regardless of where it's coming from. So that's what we'll keep doing, among other things, and some more discussion about different outlets and such things here, and motivations of callers and such. But really, all we're going to keep doing is talking about the things that affect us here in the borderland from whatever direction they come from, and again, cutting through the clutter, because there's a lot of that comes in here. A lot of comments and calls also over on the social media. If you're wanting to call in, that number to do so, again, is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. One call that came in off air right now was about some recent talk that's been happening from certain blogs in the area, but also just more discussion about El Paso being shown by DOYDJ.com, DQYDJ, rather, that's a Q there, looking at rankings for different, essentially major areas in Texas specifically, or in the region, and showing that El Paso could be shown to be having a median individual income of less than $15,000 per year, $14,976 specifically. So an interesting, as we're talking about tax rates here, just wanted to interject that into, well, some of the rankings and considerations about how we are dealing with, impacts of tax rates on that could be very, very easily seen, among other things. So that's just a little bit of what we're talking about here today. So if you want to call in again, that number to do so, 915-544 5876-915-5444-KTSM. Let's get back to those calls on the line here right now. We do have Barbara on the west side here with us right now. Barbara, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you for taking my call. I was noticing today that the Biden administration is now not only blaming the corporations and Putin for inflation, but they've added Governor Abbott. So anyway, and I was reading about O'Rourke that is now calling out the administration for lifting Title 42 without a plan.
Yep.
And in his announcement, his concerns were solely on the treatment of those coming into our country, and he used the word influx into our country. No mention about the residents living in the communities, how their safety and our sovereignty or anything that didn't concern him whatsoever. I thought that was pretty short-sighted of him not to at least mention the communities that are going to be affected by these illegal immigrants coming in. And secondly, I want to thank you, Andrew, for your platform and the open invitation that you afford us to call in and join in a conversation, and whether it be state, national, or local, that we have conversations and we learn from one another. I, for one, have learned a lot from your callers, the gentleman that called in regarding the energy sector who had experience there. I learned a lot about leases and permits. The gentlemen that work in the federal government that have worked overseas, they bring a lot of wisdom to your show, and I appreciate that. Then we have Raul with his scorched earth attitude, who calls in, and yesterday he made a vicious and bold comment calling me a liar. And that's his right to do that. But that's when you call someone a liar, you don't just sit and take the word liar, because that is an attack on my character. But I guess I understand where Raul is coming from, and I don't want to make this a complaint or anything, but, you know, we need to be respectful of one another. And that's what your program has done, with the exception, I think, of Raul. And it would be nice if we could treat one another decently, especially if we don't know each other and we're simply joining in a conversation, hoping that what we say is intelligent and others appreciate the fact that we call in and we show concern about different matters. And we all have different concerns, but to go to the point where you call people names is just a turnoff. And I just wanted to respond to Raul for his comment on yesterday, for whatever it's worth. Thank you, Andrew, for allowing me to get on your platform and, you know, put in my opinion and call in with facts and try and hope that others are learning from me as I am learning from others. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate
Thank you, Andrew.
Certainly, I appreciate the point in the call, because I mean, the way we deal with this, and some more further commentary. Michael Pata saying this radio show should not be an open forum for personal attacks. I can say that I don't personally appreciate the name calling, I hate these people, and the lack of like basis on it. Like, I just don't like this person because they rub me the wrong way. I mean, there's reasons to get into it. This is why I focus on policies here. So I kind of will agree with Michael that I don't like the idea of it, but also, I mean, we exist in the space we do, and let's just be honest, that in the public discourse, that genie's been out of the bottle for a while here. So we're not trying to stand on ceremony and say, no, if you're not going to talk about this in polite manners, you're not going to deal with this, because, I mean, there's also skin in the game. I fully recognize this here. So, I mean, I guess I pick the battles, and when we determine how we go about even putting on this show and presenting it in the way that we do, because I mean, essentially being a grammar stickler, among other things, is not really what I'm interested in. And yeah, we get a little bit back and forth and get a little bit into the, well, you said that kind of stuff that it detracts from the point. I will fully agree with that and understand that, and would love to see it end. I don't have a particularly great solution here because, well, again, people getting passionate about things. We have certain profanity issues that we deal with dealing with them and preventing it from going on air for a variety of reasons, because people get impassioned about this stuff. I mean, yes, the whole idea about polite debates is something I would like to encourage, though there are also people out there with very serious concerns. So we try to strike a balance somewhere in between that and how we deal with this. And we tend to balance on, well, as I've espoused many times before, when in doubt, err on the side of liberty. So we'll give the freedom and ability to say things right up until it becomes, well, something that makes it so that we can't do that anymore. Tolerance of everything but intolerance is about where I end up coming down here. So that's what we'll keep doing. So I appreciate your perspective and the way we talk about things here, even if, we got some more work to do, I do believe.
Well, I understand there's consequences to dialing in because other people, like you say, have different opinions.
Mm-hmm.
But, we all accept that. We know why we're on air. And like I said, there's consequences to making a phone call. And I experienced that yesterday in an unpleasant way. But that's the way it is.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay.
Here. Well, I appreciate your point in the call. You have a good one.
Thank you. You too, Andrew.
Appreciate it there. I think that's going to take us through our first break of the hour right now. We do have more calls coming in on the line here, and we'll certainly get to a few more coming out after these breaks here. So again, if you want to call in, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. A lot of comments coming in as well. We'll get to all that and more coming out of this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Again, that number, 915-544-5876. Stay tuned. Regardless of where you may be calling in from or anything that you're dealing with or wanting to talk about, some of the things that I've been looking at in just kind of my personal areas about world travel, loving the idea to get back out there, and even if, world events are making me a little bit more dubious about following through those plans, I am very comforted and very happy about the fact that there's a local source that still gets some of those global flavors that I always seek out whenever I travel, and that is with Enhanced Flavors, your local source for over 40 balsamic vinegars, extra virgin olive oils, and flavored olive oils. You don't have to go anywhere, even leave the county. Get it straight to your door from them by visiting enhancedflavors.com. But they're also out in the community. They often are out at the Upper Valley Farmers Markets. On Sundays, they're in the Hobby Lobby parking lot near Mesa and Donovan in the Crossroads area. So you can try your samples of them, or again, find out their full variety of all of their imported olive oils from Tunisia, Italy, Greece, Spain, and of course the balsamic vinegars straight from the Modena province of Italy by going to enhancedflavors.com. That's again, enhancedflavors.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Police responding to a crash, Gateway Boulevard westbound at Hawkins, Americas Avenue at Zaragoza. An accident recorded there. I-10 eastbound between Trans Mountain and Thorn Avenue. You're looking at 7 to 10 minute delays. On the 10 eastbound between the Loop and East Lake, that's less than a 5-minute delay. Injury accident, George Dieter northbound just south of Montwood. Try Treywood as an alternate.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If your company needs to spring into efficient hiring, then check out Indeed. Their powerful hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
There's only one dental office in El Paso where beautiful, top-quality, long-lasting dental implants are very affordable. 1995implants.com. Other places charge $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, up to $6,000 per tooth. Please don't ever pay that much for dental implants. Instead, come to 1995implants.com. Our price includes the implant, abutment, and crown, plus a free consultation with the dentist, free standard x-rays, and convenient financing plans to fit your budget. With help from 1995implants.com, you'll no longer have cracked or missing teeth, and you'll finally be able to say goodbye to loose, old, wobbly, worn-out, uncomfortable dentures. If you're ready for a brand new smile that family and friends will rave about, then come to 1995implants.com. Conveniently located right here in El Paso. For more information, see our website, 1995implants.com. That's 1995implants.com. Se habla español.
If you owe the IRS back taxes, then get ready to pay up. The IRS has giant private collection agencies actively tracking down folks who owe the IRS. So if you think dodging them was stressful in the past, it's going to get a whole lot tougher. Optima Tax Relief has this advice. Don't wait. Solve your tax problems now before it's too late. Optima Tax Relief works to stop the demand letters, stop the aggressive collection actions, and stop the IRS collectors from targeting you. Ask Optima about the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands, and nobody knows this program better than they do. Optima is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, and they get results, having resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Get a fresh start. Call today for your free consultation.
Call 800-587-6643. 800-587-6643. 800-587-6643.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Hunger is a story we can end.
End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of ways you can tune in, chime in, be a part of the show here. Of course, we got all the social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch.tv. If you want to tune in, chime in that way, a lot of comments coming in through there as well. RJ, Michael Perez, John Brazelton, Maria Coleman, Louis Pinato, and more tuning in, chiming in over there. And of course, Flaco Jimenez dropping that like. We do appreciate it over there. The Facebook page is more or less the main page because that's where most of the comments come in, and the Skeptic Squad definitely lives as those that Thunderdome comments shows up more often than not here. But we also got those calls open right now. Again, 915-544-5876. 915-544-KTSM is the number to call there. So let's get to some more of those calls on the line here right now. Again, a lot of stuff we're talking about here today, a lot of border security implications, but still keeping in mind those impacts in Ruidoso. Got that picture up there from our news partners over at KFOX 14, actually. That from this morning near the Ruidoso Convention Center and the golf course here, just showing that burning hillside in the background. That's the one that's really stuck with me all day here. So, I mean, they've got some information up there about also how to help victims and first responders of the Ruidoso wildfire, including with Alamogordo Public Schools, the Center of Commerce, Help New Mexico, and the fire department here, and the items most in need. So not accepting monetary donations so far yet, but again, if you want to check out that story and to what you might be able to organize and help out on your own there, again, from our news partners over at KFOX 14 there here. But let's get back to those calls right now. Right now, we do have Jerry in Northwest on the line with us right now. Jerry, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Andrew, for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to complain on the other side of the KFOX, because from what I was hearing this past weekend, they're still pushing the Russian collusion with Trump deal, when Durham has already come out and said there were two lawyers that caused all this. One of them's name is Stutzman, that worked for the DNC, which is Hillary Clinton's group, the Democratic National Committee, or whatever they call themselves now.
Mm-hmm.
But the other one was also an FBI lawyer, which lied to his senior people and caused the investigation, and also the warrant from the FISA committee that caused the investigation. So depending upon your worldly perspective, you're going to look at things in a different way. And the individual needs to realize that 90% of the people out there that are trying to give you information are trying to sell you something. The other 8% are trying to ask you for something, get your money, basically. And you got 2% that's going to care about your soul. Those are your preachers and such that are real good at what they do. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to pay attention, because you're being lied on both sides. You need to go with the one that speaks truth. And he died on the cross for you. So thank you, Andrew.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Sure thing. Yeah, thank you as well. Thank you for the point on the call there. The way I go about it in dealing with the non-religious implications of everything else you're mentioning, that other 98%, is that, I mean, I have my own biases. I fully recognize and understand this, even if it's hard for me to necessarily elaborate on my own here, but I've got my blind spots. I've got my issues here. So I fully understand that. But the way I go about it just personally, and then what we end up presenting on the show in the ways that we do, is I look at a lot of different sources, including the ones that are obviously partisan and biased and have their own agendas behind it. But it's, if you understand those, you can often find a kernel within them. But even within that, I just look at a lot of different sources here all across the spectrum here to try to find the most interesting information and eventually come down with the truth on it, or at very least what seems most reasonable. I mean, there's that whole line about the difference between facts and truth. One is objective and one is more of an eternal search, really. So when it comes down to it, for me, yeah, there are going to be issues with almost any outlet that you're looking at, but then trying to understand some of the biases if you can, but otherwise just doing your own due diligence, essentially. Trust but verify may sound like an exhausting process, but, well, It's one of the things that we kind of do in trying to get up to it and get ready to talk about the things we do on this show here. So thank you for the point in the call. You have a good one there. Let's get to some more calls on the line, see what we can squeeze in before that next break here. Again, the number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have Raul in the Northeast in the line here with us right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Well, I'll remind your last caller that Moron Jr., in other words, Donald Trump Jr., Trump's son-in-law, Jared, and Trump's campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, met with Russians at Trump Tower to get dirt on Hillary Clinton, which Trump later acknowledged. Trump reeks of Putin. Now, Bart says, another thing I find interesting, how self-unaware so many Republicans are, just like Trump. Barbara says that callers should respect each other and refrain from name-calling. Lying about the president and Democrats is not respecting each other. And Barbara, your messiah of mendacity and maliciousness, Trump, has a long, long history of calling people names. Just Google it, okay? Now, I saw Beto last night on MSNBC, and they were talking about how one of the latest polls show that Beto's only 2 points behind Abbott at 44 to 46%, which, as you know, Andrew, is within the margin of statistical error. And they were pointing out that analysis of polling data shows that when the incumbent polls less than 50%, things don't look that good for the incumbent because independents tend to break for the challengers. Now, one person that Trump never calls names is Putin. But however, our president, Biden, just finished saying that Putin is a dictator and that Russia is committing genocide in Ukraine. So, you know, the reason that Republicans are so quiet about this is that just recently, 63% of them voted against supporting NATO, and Trump and Fox actively defend Putin. CPAC is holding its next big meeting in Hungary, featuring Putin puppet Viktor Orban. You know, the Republican Party is the Putin's party. It's not a theory, not a slogan. It's the ground truth.
I mean, that's an interesting perspective you get on there. But I guess as much as you say it, as much as there are assertions made about any political party, you'd probably find more than a little bit of disagreement from, well, ground level members of, well, either side of this, but particularly you referencing there the Republican Party saying that, yeah, they're not exactly happy with Putin right now. Now, perspective exists across the spectrum. I know there's more than a couple people who comment here saying that they don't believe everything being said about Russia right now, which is also a reasonable point to be made. I mean, propaganda comes across from all sides here, which is, again, why it's important to be able to sift through it and find the understanding here of it. But I find it very interesting you mentioning self-awareness about blind spots and issues with it, because, I mean, we have had callers, I want to say Barbara included, since you're referencing her directly, unhappy with some of the policies being talked about from under that previous administration, but otherwise, in comparison, not being happy with it compared to the current one here. Now, one of the parts that I disliked the most about the previous administration was the relative coziness with some of the most authoritarian people in the country, or in the world, rather. But, I mean, it made a certain level of sense when you remember that we did elect a, well, reality TV star as a president here. There were going to be certain implications that came with it here, but calling that out, I don't find to be necessarily unuseful because, again, any politician that anyone says is perfect and has never done wrong probably hasn't actually looked at everything that that person has done, either in their personal life, though that one's a little bit more debatable about the importance of when it comes to their public life and what they've actually done in office, which is why, among other things, as we keep coming down for, is what do the policies actually mean and what have they actually done and what does it mean for us here in the borderland? Because sure, there are plenty of people out there that I'd love to have a beer with that I would never want in public office, and plenty of people in public office that are probably doing a better job than not that I would not really want to interact with in public life here. The realm of control and reigns of power is a weird one that just because you like something doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually, well, they're going to be good at it here. So appreciate the perspective, but thank you for the point in the call, even if I disagree with you on many different points there. But hey, that's what we do amongst other things here. Let's take one more quick call before we end up that next break. Now, again, the number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have Harry on the east side here with us. Harry, thanks for joining us.
Hey, good afternoon, El Paso. Hey, by the way, good back and forth between Raul and Barbara. As long as they stick with the facts, people are going to respect that, okay? I want to keep it local today, Andrew. I want to talk about salary costs And I'm glad to hear you had an investigative reporter on, and I'm sure we're going to get some good news from all of that and some good information.
Mhm.
I'll tell you, a complimentary salary should be offered as a degree of education required for all your white suit jobs in the city and the county as far as the Board of Education goes. But, I'm telling you, there were some outrageous salaries being paid to a lot of these good folks. And I'm telling you, in my opinion, a lot of common sense applied to the UTEP business grads could be offered to do the same job, okay? And I tell you what, I would not go as far as to say that a trained monkey could check the correct boxes, but some of the city and the county salaries are overinflated. And how about paying the fire department and the police department, folks? They don't wear white shirts and ties, but we need them as much as we need any administrator in any other aspect of the El Paso city operation. Okay, and that's my opinion. And one other thing I will add, we have beautiful high schools here. I've been here since '77, and the high schools that have been built recently are like Taj Mahals. They should be with marble floors and you name it. And the taxpayers are paying for that. And in my opinion, until we start teaching math and science and biology in a heavy sense, we are overspending on the building of some of these schools, and particularly the high schools.
Well, we have some nice high schools here. I mean, my own Franklin High School sometimes gets confused for a junior college or something, but the one that comes most to mind if you want to talk about architecture or schools comes to mind is El Paso High School, the Trost Design Building, and that one's very nice. I'll agree, though. I think a lot of the more current ones, maybe not high schools as much, but definitely middle schools and elementary schools have suffered from some of the biggest problems lately when it comes to maintenance, and why, among other things, with changing enrollments, we've seen that reckoning happening with conglomerization, bringing them together, combining schools, and even closing some here. So there is a reckoning happening with that, though maybe not exactly in the way you're describing. But I mean, anytime you're seeing too top heavy of an organization, whether you're talking about public service, public safety, schools themselves, as was brought up, I think, yesterday by a caller, there's got to be a reevaluation here. So again, some talk about the median incomes in El Paso and what that actually means for, our tax base, amongst other things, is probably an important one we need to have going forward here. So we got to take that next break now, but thank you for the point in the call. You have a good one there. All right, we got to get to that next break right now. But coming out of the break, we'll get to more of the calls, comments, and all the stuff that we do on the line here. So again, if you want to get on the horn, the number to do so, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Might be having some issues over on the social media we'll check out here, but with the audio here. But otherwise, you can leave your comments over there. Again, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more. Stay tuned. If you are looking to have your real king for a day experience here, I got to recommend Gentleman's Republic. It's what I did myself. Well, actually, coming up on 9 years ago right now. It's my actual anniversary here, and in preparation for the wedding itself here, I found myself over there taking advantage of their services, essentially ended up becoming my bachelor party, because that's what they really do well over there, giving you a great venue, a great experience, and even that added value to it here. So particularly if you're looking to have your own celebrations, your own parties, even those prom packages, make sure to give them a call about that as you're looking for those, lower level celebrations, but still important nonetheless in those milestones of life here. You can give them a call. Again, Gentleman's Republic at 915-532-3000, along with all of their other great services that they offer regularly. Their expert men's grooming services, call them about their list, their expert hair and beard grooming and styling services. It's what I take advantage of, as they are part of our official hair and beard sponsor for the show. So again, give them a call. Find them at 1712 North Mesa or 915-532-3000 or at gentsrepublic.com.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 News Update. A state of emergency remains in effect for the village of Ruidoso, New Mexico, as the McBride fire continues to burn. More than 4,000 acres have burned. Authorities say 150 buildings and homes have been destroyed. The fire started yesterday and grew quickly thanks to intense wind. Today, fire crews were battling the fire from both the air and the ground. Texas Governor Greg Abbott today announced the arrival of the first group of migrants who were bused to Washington, D.C. from Texas. The migrants who volunteered for the trip were dropped off between Union Station and the United States Capitol, and a second bus is currently en route to Washington. The bus was filled with migrants from Colombia, Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. Abbott said he would start busing migrants to Washington in protest of the Biden administration's border policies, but the governor's critics say he's engaging in political theater ahead of the November election. This has been your KFOX 14 News Update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Police and medical on the scene of an injury accident in Yarborough, northbound at the 10 Gateway, I-10 westbound at Viscount, a stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. Accident reported Joe Battle at Edgemere Boulevard. Reynolds just south of Montana Avenue, a medical emergency. In North Carolina between Yarborough and Giles, an injury accident there. Take North Loop as an alternate. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. Our Tuesday turned out to be very active with a lot of wind and a lot of blowing dust, but I'm happy to say those winds are lighter for our Wednesday and will continue to become even lighter as we get into the overnight hours. Now, as for the winds the rest of this week, they do look to cooperate nicely. Now, they'll still be a little breezy, maybe at about 15 to 25 miles an hour, but you'll also notice temperatures quickly warming up this week.
This report is sponsored by Rocket Mortgage. When you apply for a home loan, there are different options depending on your situation and needs. With Rocket Mortgage, you can see how different down payments, monthly payments, and closing costs will impact your loan and your budget. When you need a lender who works for you, Rocket can.
This is Ivan Ochoa, General Manager from Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. Thank you, El Paso and surrounding areas, for helping us be El Paso's #1 dealer in new Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram sales in March. As a gesture of our gratitude, we've extended all our Ram Truck Month deals like 0 down, 0% interest for 72 months and no payments for 90 days.
Buy now and save thousands on a huge inventory of new and certified pre-owned vehicles. 2022 Ram trucks with 0 APR for 72 months. All new 2022 Jeep Wagoneer, full-size SUV with third-row seating, 0 APR for 72 months, 0 payments for 90 days. We've partnered with even more aggressive lenders with great rates and terms, even if your credit is less than perfect. And we want your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. All military personnel and all first responders receive an additional discount. Thank you for your service. Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Where buying a car is fun. At I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina, El Paso. El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. 0 APR is $13.89 per thousand finance. All select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Are you ready for an unparalleled work experience where you see your impact every day? GDIT is hiring bilingual English-Spanish customer service representatives to deliver critical support to the government. $500 sign-on bonus available for select positions. Apply now at gdit.com/El Paso Jobs.
This report is sponsored by General Dynamics Information Technology.
There won't be much substance on your news feed until you add us. Just like us or click on the link at ktsmradio.com.
If you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my friends.
For my community.
For everyone here. We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies us. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for joining us however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages that we are, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. That's where you can find us under either of those names. Most of those places, Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk, as we continue our mission to talk about, well, the things that affect us here in the borderland. A lot of people stirred up today, and a lot of issues we're discussing here, among other things, those continuing border security impacts and policies, particularly from the state level, but of course, the looming end of Title 42 and the impacts being seen from that, definitely very front of mind. Along with that, of course, also the situation up in New Mexico now with those evacuations and states of emergencies being ordered in the Ruidoso area because of the McBride fire as it's going there. So thoughts, prayers, and helping anyone listening from there is staying safe. We actually have a call in here on that here in a minute, among other things. Some points being brought up on over the social media. Barbara Carrasco mentioning a different polling here as our last caller, previous to last caller, brought up here that, I think it was referencing the Texas Lyceum poll that did have within the margin of error difference between Governor Greg Abbott and Democratic challenger Robert Francis Beto O'Rourke. But one of the ones that, it seems a little bit more reasonable, more of the data going into it. This seems to be one I'm going with a little bit further. Is that from the Texas Hispanic Policy Foundation, showed between a roughly 8% spread with a 2.6 margin of error, with Abbott at 50% and O'Rourke at 42%. So again, as much as any position may be desirable one way or the other, depending on your particular leanings, just saying that, the polling looks good, taking that as and therefore I shouldn't do anything, is where I take the issue with, because everyone better be going out and voting in these both runoffs, if you've got them on your ballot here, depending on which way you voted in the primaries. But then, of course, the general election, just go ahead and make your plan to vote right now. And if you're sitting back on your laurels, that's kind of part of the problem. Anyway, more calls on the line here right now. Let's actually get with Rick calling in from the Sacramento Mountains right now there. Rick, thanks for joining us.
Yes, how you doing, Andrew?
Doing all right. Hope y'all staying safe up there as well.
Yeah, I'm in Tiburon. We had a fire like a couple of days ago, but they put it out.
Mm-hmm.
And this one looks really bad, especially these winds were tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope everything I'm asking all your audience, and I thank you. I wanted to start with that, thanking you for this platform, giving us the voice and everyone to speak. Thank you again, and I want to put that, everyone, all you listeners, please pray, and let's do collective conscience and pray and say to yourself, fire, stop, fire, stop, and it will. I believe in collective conscience.
I certainly hope so as well, and my thoughts will definitely be going that way here. So, appreciate the thought that way.
Thank you, Andrew. I did want to speak. There's two issues I want to do.
Absolutely.
Real fast. Your venue, this platform gives the audience, you give everyone to speak, and that gives an awareness to the audience. We hear the psychosis, we hear the false, and we hear the truth. That's the only way to really find truth, by hearing ridiculousness, by hearing lightly untruth. They don't want to say lies, and the ones who do lie call other people liars. Raul calls back, Barbara, I recommend, very great. I don't know the word to say, but I applaud her for saying, what you call names. He could have said, sorry, I apologize. That's the best way to respond when you've offended somebody. But he comes back saying, well, that's disrespecting, lying to the public. He's still saying she's lying. She's not. So somebody with psychosis, which that's what your venue shows, the truth on people, where that's not really right. That's illogical and logical. What's true and false. It is so clear. You give that freedom, and I love it. I love it. So with that, Raul has a psychosis, and you can't. He believes, a 2-point margin. That was a lie. It's a 9-point margin. Really, just softly giving the truth. They're distorted. They can't believe. They can't change their own thinking. So that he's stuck there. Everything is Trump. Everybody's like Trump. That's what he said. Like Trump, and obviously they're the same. All this distortion. So I'm going to end with that. What we're doing, Barbara, we're going into his world. Let him be a psychosis Trump. Raul, I love you, man, but you gotta be self-aware, and I see your unawareness. So from all that, we're gonna leave it alone, because I don't want to go in his world, and everybody can see the truth. Now, this is what I did want to say: bring it to Abbott, and them sending the immigrants to Washington. Now, this is how I see it on physics. Every action has an opposite and equal reaction. This is a ridiculous situation, our border. Well, then you go to ridiculous means. Sure, there was this other Republican, some statesman, he was criticizing, Abbott's doing, that's crazy. Well, you have to do crazy because it already is crazy. So I amend Governor Abbott. Yes, do that. We have to go. It's already crazy. So to criticize crazy on crazy that's even crazy. So I wanted to put that and see what people say about that transferring. I believe it should keep on and send everybody to Pelosi's house where they live. Everybody, all the senators, let them have all of them. You care about them, then take care of them. I believe that. So with that said, I again thank you for all your prayers, Andrew, and your platform, and let's all stop the fire.
Absolutely here. Yeah, praying definitely for you all and thoughts with you, and hope you stay safe out there as well, and that it works out for you and yours immediately.
Thank you.
All right, sure thing. Thank you for the point in the call. You have a good one there, as much as you can in these circumstances. I mean, again, the major criticism hearing of the whole busing effort, specifically referring to there, is that, it's a political stunt, to which I say, and? Like, I mean, there have been plenty of political stunts that have happened here, and if we're dealt with all of the legal concerns that came up as part of this here, I mean, if it was going to be a 100% effort, as we're also seeing with some other efforts going on with border security here, I mean, as a factor of raising awareness, I mean, we even have bipartisan support of saying, what the hell is the administration doing on this issue here with removal of Title 42 without a plan in place? So, again, when we're getting to the stunt aspect of it, I'm coming back a little bit more to and there needs to be more focus on this issue, among other things here. Let's get to more calls on the line here before we end up in that next break. Right now, do we have Andrew on the west side here with us? Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you. And thoughts and prayers to the people out there in New Mexico.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of problems going on there. So, tracking the progress of this fire is going to be something I'm going to be doing personally, even if we don't talk about that much on air. But it's a bad situation that literally just happened. So, it's pretty significant.
Yes. Reference the Abbott busing people to Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
As I recall, President Biden, when he first arrived to the White House, our newly elected president, he gave an open invitation to these immigrants, and quote unquote, he said, "Come on in." You know, he said it twice. You know, and I'll say, "Come on, man, you opened up the border. That's an open invitation to an open border."
I mean, yeah, we've talked at length about the marketing implications of public statements here, because it's very apparent that there's a hell of a marketing wing on the part of the coyotes and the cartel saying, no, you totally need to go there. That if there was something obvious, something incontrovertible, something, oh no, this has been made very clear now, coming out of the administration would cut the legs off of that slightly. I mean, they're always going to find ways to manipulate to get the money out of people, whether it's through drugs, whether it's through extortion, or whether it's through these efforts saying, no, you should totally give us your $10,000 plus for us to cart you to the United States and literally drop you off the border wall. But I mean, the whole don't come, the very soft spoken. I mean, if they really want to make that clear, there's a hell of a lot better ways to do it here. So again, I'm not totally opposed to political theater, as long as it's not like ruining people's lives in the meantime, of which there could be debate here. But in this circumstance, with the busing here being voluntary, I mean, heck, there was, again, noted by the Texas Tribune, someone literally thanking them for doing it. So I guess I'm not finding many totally, in terms of personal impact, people involved in it, negative impacts, even if there's maybe some debate about if this is actually having an impact, even in the theater way.
Yes. Also, I would say here on the more positive side, I will say that the people of Loudoun County and Fairfax County, Virginia, that area, to include what is that other county in Maryland? But anyway, their median household income over there is about $146,000, which is almost 3 times higher than the people here in El Paso County.
I think you're talking about Prince George's County, and yeah, that's a pretty pricey area.
Yes, Montgomery County also.
Oh, Montgomery as well, yeah.
Yes. Now, I need to address something that Raul fellow said yesterday concerning gun control. You're never going to achieve gun control. We have many laws on the books. They're not being enforced, and you're never going to achieve anything unless you enforce these laws that are on the books.
I mean, I fully agree with that statement, but even just let's take it to the reasonable end here. The idea that if we outlaw it and then do enforcement efforts on it to then make it 100%, I mean, okay, let's just go to the core end of the idea of when it talked about from that perspective, the idea of there being no more guns and therefore there being no issues. You know what? Almost if there could be a snap of the fingers and all lethality removed here, that would almost be desirable, except for the fact that that doesn't actually happen that way. And it's going to be a progress. It's going to take doing it and making it happen, and that is going to primarily fall on the people who have done nothing wrong in their own lives, myself included, when it comes to this, having been an owner of firearms, of undeterminate nature here. What we're talking about is that the people who have literally done nothing are going to be the primary focus of this enforcement and the control they go through. Meanwhile, and I don't mean to make light of tragedy, but it has become very stark to me. We are talking about a law enforcement agency that is larger than the majority of militaries, at least in funding numbers, of this world when it comes to the New York Police Department. And yet this was something that they were not able to deal with in the immediate sense here. So I'm not sure how much money, policy, or otherwise is expected to be thrown at this before we start asking, okay, what might actually do something?
Yes, you're right on that. And like I say, you want to reduce crime, start enforcing the laws that you have on the books, and be more have harsher penalties. And my last point I wanted to make: there was a Bloomberg poll out. It's less than a week old. I think it's only about 4 or 5 days old. It shows Abbott with an 8% lead.
Yeah, I think there are some newer ones along those lines. I mean, we're keeping an eye on some of the polling here, though. I'm not going to get too focused on it until we start getting in like the immediate month or two and weeks out of the election. That's when they'll be really telling from the way I just think about them.
Yes. And, well, one last thing. Hey, Raul out there. Hey, live long and prosper, my human friend, but you need to govern your human emotions.
I think that could apply to a lot of us here, but, well, in specificness, well, I'll leave that up to the individual determination of that. But otherwise, thank you for the point in the call. You have a good one.
You too. The mic goes back to you.
I appreciate it there. All right, we are due for that next break. We got to squeeze it in here, and then we'll come back, see what we can get to before the end of the program here, and close out the show. Tell what we got coming up here shortly, so stay tuned. More Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. A lot of comments, a lot of calls. We'll do what we can, as we do every weekday. So back in a minute. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Police and medical on the scene. The South Desert Boulevard southbound after red, an injury accident slowing traffic. Alameda northbound at Executive Center Boulevard, an injury accident. North Carolina between Yarborough and Giles, an injury accident with medical team there. Joe Battle Boulevard northbound at Edgemere, accident reported. And a disabled vehicle's blocking the right shoulder, I-10 westbound at Viscount. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Gila River Hotels and Casinos.
Experience bigger, bolder, and better at Phoenix, Arizona's newest resort with new guest rooms, suites, pools, and amenities. Taste the here and now at our new rooftop restaurant and lounge. It's time to own your moment, so you do you. For more information, visit playatgila.com.
Hi, I'm Eva Longoria, and I am so excited to share my new podcast with you. It's called Connections with me, Eva Longoria. What is the true meaning of connection? And how can true, authentic connection influence your life for the better? How should we connect with our partners, our kids, money, politics, food, jobs, news, spirituality? How can we connect better with ourselves? Listen to Connections with Eva Longoria on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, Mario Courtney Lopez here. We know life's moments are definitely better together.
And Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to always be ready to make the most of these moments.
Whether in studio, on the red carpet, or around the house, having the confidence to get close is amazing.
Our lives are better together with Smart Mouth. Just 2 rinses a day means fresh breath for 24 hours.
Find it at your favorite drug, grocery, or supercenter store, or save 20% at smartmouth.com/radio.
The IRS back taxes? Then get ready to pay up. The IRS has giant private collection agencies actively tracking down folks who owe the IRS. So if you think dodging them was stressful in the past, it's going to get a whole lot tougher. Optima Tax Relief has this advice. Don't wait. Solve your tax problems now before it's too late. Optima Tax Relief works to stop the demand letters, stop the aggressive collection actions, and stop the IRS collectors from targeting you. Ask Optima about the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands, and nobody knows this program better than they do. Optima is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, and they get results, having resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Get a fresh start. Call today for your free consultation.
Call 800-587-6643. 800-587-6643. 800-587-6643.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM, rounding the bend on the end of the program here. Just a couple things I want to remind you all of. We'll do it again tomorrow here, and we're working on more the local impact from what we're talking about with the new inspection policies coming out from the state level and Governor Greg Abbott's order for DPS to do additional full 100% inspections of all truck traffic crossing the border here. We'll have more local perspective on that. Plus some more things we're talking about for you next week and the coming weeks. Again, going to be continuing that segment with investigative reporting in our area with our news partners over at KFOX 14. And then just one more feature I want to mention to you, that there's another way to contribute to the show if you're wanting to chime in but don't have the ability to make a phone call or just have something in when we're off air. That new talk back feature with the iHeartRadio app. You literally just press the microphone button when you're tuned into our station and you can leave us a message and we can play them on air. So that makes it a little bit simpler, though we'll still be doing those pound 250 calls here. So we got at least one of those here on the line here that we'll get to quickly. Again, pound 250, keyword Talk El Paso to leave your own message like this.
This is Messiah Frankie. I just came upon an article that I want to share with you and everybody else out there in the Southwest border region. You got this guy, Moscow Mitch McConnell, the guy that looks like a antiquated turtle, right? And his wife are out there saying, "Oh, woe is me, woe is me. We woke up every morning trying to figure out how to control the Donnie Dotard doofus." Now, what the heck is that supposed to mean? He was the leader of the Senate, and he's figuring out, trying to tell everybody, make it like it sound like he didn't know what to do. He didn't even vote for the impeachments either time. And now what it looks like, he's coming up with oh, gee whiz, I'm so sorry. Like he's trying to patch up his wherewithal legacy or whatever. What a moron.
Again, if you want to leave your own message, pound 250 will still be available, but probably have some new features going on. So if you don't already have the iHeartRadio app, download that, find our station. You can leave us a message through pressing that microphone in the talkback feature from there. So that'll be where we'll be focusing on it going on. But hey, we'll take the comments as we can. And again, the idea of there, I find it interesting that there's this idea that there's only two ways for even Republicans to be, or the conservative movement in general, that it was either a never Trump or a full Trump. But I think there were more than a couple of elected officials in office who ended up not liking the guy, but holding their nose and thinking they can get their own agenda through them, that might be their own reckoning coming from in some way or another here. But I think we got times for one more call here. We do have Mike on the east side here with us. Mike, we got about a minute.
How you doing? Yep, I'm actually on the west side. Good show as usual. Interesting segment with the investigative reporter, Estefania Safer, and hopefully she's listening. But I suggest that she investigate the El Paso County Office of New Americans and see exactly how much taxpayer money is going to that office in furtherance of illegal immigration. According to their website, this office is partnered with several national pro-illegal immigration groups, and this is of concern. We know the county judge is pro-illegal immigration, as well as our congressperson, Veronica Escobar. So I'm really curious about how much taxpayer money is being used in furtherance of illegal immigration. That's what I have to say. You asked me to be succinct, and I think I was. Okay, appreciate that, year as we're at the end of the program. So, I mean, that is something that we'll be talking further about as we have 4 segments coming up. We're going to be doing that recurring with Estefania. So thank you for the point in the call. Pass that along with the other ones we got here. But again, you can find her on her social media, and we'll have those links out as we do here. So that's going to take us to the end of the program here today. I do appreciate everyone who did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. Again, the discussion here is the reason I want to do this. There's a lot of format and formulations we could do for a program like this, but the back and forth, the calls, it's what gives me life, and we'll keep doing every 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday here. So in the meantime, stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening. I'll see y'all tomorrow.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Police and medical on the scene. The South Desert Boulevard southbound after red, an injury accident slowing traffic. Alameda northbound at Executive Center Boulevard, an injury accident. North Carolina between Yarborough and Giles, an injury accident with medical team there. Joe Battle Boulevard northbound at Edgemere, accident reported. And a disabled vehicle is blocking the right shoulder, I-10 westbound at Viscount. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This is Ivan Ochoa, General Manager from Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. Thank you, El Paso and surrounding areas, for helping us be El Paso's #1 dealer in new Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram sales in March. As a gesture of our gratitude, we've extended all our Ram Truck Month deals, like 0 down, 0% interest for 72 months and no payments for 90 days.
Buy now and save thousands on a huge inventory of new and certified pre-owned vehicles. 2022 Ram trucks with 0 APR for 72 months. All new 2022 Jeep Wagoneer, full-size SUV with third-row seating. 0 APR for 72 months. 0 payments for 90 days. We've partnered with even more aggressive lenders with great rates and terms, even if your credit is less than perfect. And we want your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. All military personnel and all first responders receive an additional discount. Thank you for your service. Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Where buying a car is fun. At I-10 and Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina, El Paso. El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. 0 APR is $13.89 per thousand finance. Also like vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
No word in the English language is less convincing than probably.
Are you sure we should get matching tattoos on our first date?
Sure. We'll probably stay together.
Probably? It's been 23 minutes since I ate. I can probably...
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The suspected New York City subway attacker has been captured. NYPD Commissioner Kishant Sewell detailed Frank James' arrest.
Frank Robert James was stopped on the street and arrested by members of the New York City Police Department. Officers, in response to a Crime Stoppers tip, stopped Mr. James at 1:42 p.m. at the corner of St. Mark's Place and First Avenue in Manhattan.
Police officials said he had 9 prior arrests.